How you doing? Duff here. I am going to be offering up 10 tips for people that are either interested in learning to ride an electric unicycle or just embarking on the journey to ride an electric unicycle. Maybe they're struggling. Maybe they're thinking about if they want to do it or not. So here are my 10 tips to help you make the decision and get you started, hopefully. Okay, tip number 1, get informed. Some people just maybe might see like a single video on YouTube, or they might see a ad on a website regarding an electric unicycle. I recommend that you take the time to get some background on it, get some more information, and one of the best places I found to do that is the Electric Unicycle Forum, which is located at electricunicycle.org. So if you have some time, make an account on there, do some reading, and that should give you a lot of information to help you down the road, both as a beginner and as you become a more advanced rider. Okay, so now let's say that you've done some research and you've decided that you definitely want to embark on this hobby. The question is, okay, well, what do you buy? And this is a tricky subject for some people, because I've seen some people make some decisions that they later regretted when it came to their first electric unicycle. I personally bought myself a Ninebot 1E+, and I think it's around $600, something like that. And that actually, in retrospect, without me knowing it, was a good first training wheel. It was very durable, I mean, I put it through its paces. If you watch some of my training videos, you'll see how often I fell, how hard I fell, and the kind of tumbles that bot was put through, and it's still going strong. So that's definitely a good first wheel, but it is $600. So another option is something like this. This is a $200 clone generic electric unicycle. I bought it on eBay again. It's very small, but surprisingly durable. This thing has taken a beating. You can see some of the markings on it. And one of the advantages of this is, first of all, you can get into the hobby for not a lot of money. You know, 200 bucks isn't too bad. And you can get a sense, even though it is a small wheel. It's not very powerful, not very fast. But in some ways, that's a good thing when you're learning. You don't really want something powerful or fast. You want something predictable and slow, and something you're less likely to hurt yourself on, because there is always that possibility. But anyways, that was a very good option. And actually, I kind of wish I would have went that option first before getting the Ninebot 1. The only downside to that is, once you do get comfortable with riding an electric unicycle, you're going to immediately outgrow this, and you're going to be wanting something faster and, you know, more capable, more range. But if you're up in the air about it, I would strongly recommend that you start with something like that, as opposed to getting a more expensive wheel. And like I was saying earlier, I've seen people, you know, that they want to get into the hobby, and they've spent big money for a high-end wheel, like going right to a Gotway M Super or something like that for their first wheel, trying to learn on. That's a big mistake, because first of all, you could decide you don't like it. You could get frustrated because you're constantly dumping your $1,200 wheel on the cement. It's getting all beat up, and it's a lot more powerful, and it's a lot faster, and there's more possibility of getting hurt. So that is tip number 2. Okay, tip number 3. So you made the decision to get into the hobby. You bought your wheel, but the next thing you need to do is buy safety equipment. Okay, I see a lot of people that ride electric unicycles with no safety equipment, even when learning, and to be blunt, it's stupid. You do not want to do that, and that's coming from someone that did exactly that. Like when the first day that I got the Ninebot 1, I was out there with no safety equipment whatsoever, because I made the false assumption that it would be nearly as easy to ride as my Segway Mini Pro. and it wasn't, not even close. So you want to make sure that you have safety equipment. Helmet, glasses are good, because when you're riding along you don't want to have something get in your eye and distract you and could cause a problem. Wrist guards, very, very important, wrist guards, because when you go down, your reaction is going to be to put your hand down, and you can really damage your wrist. Again, early on I fell and I did not have wrist guards, and I jammed both my wrists, and they literally hurt for a couple months, and I'm lucky I didn't break them. So wrist guards are super important. Elbow pads, again, this is something you're going to go down on a lot. I do not have my knee pads on right now, but when you're learning, you definitely need knee pads as well. It's another popular contact point if you fall. And I also would recommend long pants. I live in Florida, so I don't wear long pants very often, but when you're learning, like when you come off the wheel, like say you step off, you lose your balance, it's quite normal, you know, for the wheel to kind of fly around, and the edges of those pedals can be relatively sharp, so you could wind up cutting your leg if you don't have anything around your calf. So I would recommend long pants at a minimum. You might see people that do like high-speed electric unicycle riding. They even go beyond that. You know, they'll have like a full crash suit on with, like, you know, back pads, chest pads, shin guards, all that kind of stuff. But this is about people that are learning, so you're not going to be doing any of that. So there you go. Tip 3: dress appropriately. Okay, tip number 4. You have your new wheel. Here it is. And you want to just, like, I guess your instinct is, okay, I'm just going to hop on it and I want to just go to town, learn to ride it. Well, again, this is something that I learned from error. The first thing you really want to do is get control of it when you have one foot on the wheel and one foot on the ground, okay? And the reason for that is this is how you basically, this helps you later when it comes to mounting the wheel and getting off of the wheel. It also just helps your overall control. So basically what you want to do is you want to have whatever normally your dominant leg will be on first, will be what you put on the wheel first. And you want to have it against the side of the wheel firmly. And you also want to have that knee pushed in somewhat. Okay, when I first started riding, I had my foot on the pedal, and I had my calf against the bot, but I didn't have it locked on there, so it was kind of loose. I didn't have good control. When you move that knee in, the wheel kind of becomes locked to your foot. So you want to be able to get a sense of being able to steer the wheel with one foot, and if you have it locked in like I described, it should be a lot easier to do so. If you can do this, you're in good shape. If you can't, you do not have your foot and leg in a good, strong position. Okay, the other thing, once you have your foot locked in there, this is tip number 5, I guess, is you want to practice doing little short hops, basically. You're going like this, keeping this leg locked on the wheel, and then you're just kind of pushing forward like this. Wheel's so short, it's kind of painful in my leg to do this. But again, that's what gives you a sense of control and just the balance that you need to get on and off the wheel. Okay, tip number 5, find a fence. All right, you got your wheel. You've been doing some of the one-legged drills on the ground. You can control it. You can do the one-legged hops. Now you want to actually try to get on the wheel. I've found through various people that I've introduced to electric unicycles that using a fence is the best way to do this, to get started. So let's demonstrate. Okay, so this fence is along a soccer field, so it's not ideal. It would be better to have a fence against, you know, like a tennis court. A school, like we have a school that has a bike corral that has a rectangular fence around it. Basketball court, same thing. But I've found that a fence works the best. You could use like a wall if you wanted to, or something with a railing, I guess. But the reason that I like the fence is because it's easier to grab on. Like say you want to stop suddenly, you can grab on. If it's a solid wall, you're just going to skid, and who knows what's going to happen. Or if it's a low railing, you might not be able to grab it. Well, with a nice fence like this, you always have a support if needed. So I would recommend a fence. Okay, so now how to get on it, even with a fence, is whatever leg is on the ground, you want to lean the unicycle that direction. And what that does is that creates a little bit of a counterbalance situation. So when you hop on with this leg, or with this leg, the weight of the unicycle is going to kind of slow you from going back this direction, so you can just hop up like that. Okay? So you lean it towards the foot that's on the ground, and you hop up. Okay? And now I'm on the fence. So let me back up. Okay, so now I have my constant hand guard here that I can grab onto, I can lean onto, and it's helpful. And then what happens is, as you ride more and more, as you repeat this process more and more, you can keep your hand off for longer periods of time. But it's right there if you need it. So that is a process that you just keep doing. Early on, that's what you're going to be doing the most of. And then as you can release your hand from the fence for longer and longer periods of time, you'll feel more and more comfortable, and you just keep increasing that distance. So that's a very important tip number 5. Find a fence. Okay, tip number 6 I can give while riding, because it's really all about your state of mind. You can't be afraid of falling. Okay? You're gonna fall at some point. Some people worse than others. I had a couple really bad wipeouts as I was learning. But again, that's why you're wearing the proper safety gear, because if you have on the proper safety gear, you're minimizing the chance of that fall doing any serious damage to you. So I can't stress enough, you need to wear the proper safety gear. And along with that mental attitude, not being afraid to fall, you have to be patient. I've heard of people taking weeks to learn, and I was one of those. And I've also seen people learn in the span of a few hours, at least the basics. They were able to get on the wheel and do the basics. Like Katie's boyfriend Daniel and Katie herself learned very, very quickly. So you have to be patient, because whether it takes you a short amount of time or a long amount of time, the bottom line is if you keep at it, you will get it. There was many times when I was learning that I was discouraged, but I just kept plugging away. So you need to kind of have that attitude as well. Okay, tip number 7, don't look down. A very common thing that new riders do is they do this. They're looking at their feet as they're riding, and they're watching their wobble, and you don't want to do that. A big step in my progress when I was learning is when someone told me a tip to just look ahead, look where you want to go. Don't look at your feet the whole time. Look at where you're going. And it took a lot of the unsteadiness out of my riding. So look where you want to go. Do not look at your feet or look at the wheel while you're riding. It won't help you balance, believe me. This is actually a tip similar to learning slacklining. It's the same deal. Don't look at your feet. You got to look at where you want to go, and you will find that your balance and stability increases greatly once you do that. Okay, tip number 8. So now you've been doing your fence training. You're able to ride along the fence for long periods of time without touching it. The only problem is like to start and to stop, you kind of need to grab onto an object. Being able to start with nothing to hold on to is something, again, that took me a little while to get the hang of. An important part of this reflects back to what I mentioned in the earlier tip with your leg position. If you can do this and you have your leg locked in, you're most of the way there, because that is the key to being able to get on and off the wheel in a controlled manner. Okay, so once your leg is locked in here, what you can do is you just take a gentle step, have my wheel leaning, and just step on that easily. And it's all about having that leg that's on the bot locked in place so you can brace yourself. And it's the exact same thing with stepping off without holding on to something. That leg is locked in, and now I can step off. And this again takes practice, but once it clicks in your head, you'll wonder why you struggle with it so much. So I know I did. So that's the best way to handle. Morning, what's up, Mike? That's the best way to handle mounts and dismounts. Or tip number 9, we'll edit whatever is appropriate. Ride in places appropriate to your skill level. If you are just learning and you're going through the basic skill acquisition phase, you should not be riding in a place that has a lot of traffic or a lot of people or a lot of obstacles. You need to be riding in a wide open space where the environment is controlled. You do not want to be, just because you can get on and ride 100 feet, you do not want to go to your local park or sidewalk or be crossing streets early on, because that is just a recipe for disaster. I know some people that get excited about being able to stay on the wheel, and they put themselves in situations that are not safe. So you want to make sure that you want to make sure that your environment is appropriate for your skill level. You need to be able to confidently do all the basics: stopping, starting, turning, obstacle avoidance, before you put yourself in a position where there's a lot of people. This is another important tip that I just kind of overlooked as far as the basic control of the electric unicycle, and that is you shift your body weight slightly forward to accelerate and slightly backwards to brake. So let me demonstrate both. Braking. Tip number 10. Sorry, I should have probably put this earlier in the list because this is kind of important, but it's how to turn. Turning was something again that I struggled with early, and there's 2 big tips to help me. Again, the looking where you want to go tip. Basically, you kind of just turn your body in the direction you want to turn. And look where you want to go. And then the other part of that, which you might have been able to see, is the steering on the wheel is pretty much identical to what you would do on a bicycle, that you're leaning into the direction that you want to turn. So if I want to turn to the left, I'm going to be pushing down with my left foot, and the right pedal is going to be coming up, and vice versa if I want to go to the right. So let's do some left-hand turns and right-hand turns. See how this pedal is down? And one thing to note, one of the reasons I had problems turning initially is because I had no wiggle room with the bot. I was so worried about being stable that I had both calves smashed up against the side of the bot, so I didn't have any room to really lean it. So you have to have a little bit of slack in there when you're on the bot to allow it to lean either direction. You can't have your legs smashed against it, otherwise you're not going to have the mobility that you need. So obviously turning is a very important skill, and you need to practice that a lot. Okay, and for my final tip for new electric unicycle riders, very simple and kind of a common sense thing, but that is to practice. Practice, practice, practice. You can't get on a wheel for an hour and expect to be an expert. Although in certain situations, certain individuals, Daniel, Katie, may be able to pick it up faster than others. Other people just take more time, like me. Probably over the span of 3 weeks, I might have put in, I don't know, 10 to 12 hours of riding time until I was able to do the basics. So if that's the case for you, don't feel bad. It happens. The nice thing is once you learn the basics, whether it's on a $200 training wheel or something bigger, those skills pretty much translate to all electric unicycles. The feel can be different. You may have to slightly modify the physics and able to do certain things, but it's kind of like riding a bike. Once you have the basics, you should be able to ride pretty much any electric unicycle. So that's the good news. So I've been riding now for, I don't know, 8 months, 9 months, something like that. And there's still tons of stuff that I can't do, don't try to do. But all I can say is learning to ride the electric unicycle was very, very rewarding. It's something different. A lot of people would say, well, how's that different than riding a bicycle? It's hard to explain, but it is. You have a lot more freedom. You can traverse various terrains. People take these off-roading on like bike trails. You can go through grass. I've seen people ride them in the snow. But it just gives you a freedom to explore that I just have not experienced otherwise. So if you're to the point where you're watching this video, I look forward to hearing how things have gone for you and you getting to this point, because it is a lot of fun. It really is. It's also very helpful, but maybe unlikely depending on where you live, to have someone that knows how to ride an electric unicycle show you the basics. In my situation, there was nobody around here that had one, to my knowledge, and I learned 100% on my own, just through trial and error, and watching dozens, if not hundreds, of YouTube videos of people riding, tips, mistakes, successes, all that kind of stuff. So if you know someone that has one, by all means try to learn from them, but otherwise, the way that I learned maybe took a little bit longer, but in the end it was still pretty effective. So cut. Okay, so that just about wraps up my tips. Well, it does wrap up my tips. I hope that you found this helpful if you're embarking on your electric unicycle journey. And if you did, please take a moment to like and or subscribe to my channel. It helps the channel grow, and also just helps let me know that people find my stuff useful, entertaining, whatever. So, and if you're looking for more electric unicycle videos, just browse my channel and you will see a ton of them, because I film it all the time. So anyways, that's it. Hope you have a great weekend. Till next time, Duffman out.